Chapter 8. A Place of Safety. When they return to Tam's room, they interrupt Bran and Tom talking whilst watching over his father. Rand can see he's still breathing but in laboured gasps. Tom stares at the Aes Sedai uneasily and decides to leave, claiming to check that no one steals his cloak and to smoke his pipe in peace. With Tom gone, Lan says, "I don't trust that man. He was nowhere to be seen during the attack." Bran tells him, "He must have been there. How else was his cloak singed?" Moraine orders Bran to leave but allows Rand to stay if he keeps out of her way. He sits with Lan, uncomfortable with being in the presence of channeling, but does see that Tam looks better. Lan tells Rand, "That's a nice sword. Does it happen to be Heron-marked?" Distracted, Rand surprises him by saying, "Yes, it's my father's. He bought it a long time ago. I didn't know it existed until last night." Lan explains that herons signify the sword's owner as a master bladesman. Rand says, "The mayor told me the village would be destroyed if it wasn't for you two. If you had known about a dark rider whose cloak didn't move and made you feel scared, would it have helped or even stopped the attack?" Moraine had been listening and says, "No, not without at least another 6 Aes Sedai. Had I known of the danger, I would have dragged a dozen of my sisters with me, but I didn't anticipate Trollocs or a Myrddraal." Lan is perturbed though, thinking a warning would have helped. Moraine disagrees, saying, "Don't blame the boy, Lan. The Raven's behaviour should have been warning enough, but I didn't see it through my arrogance. Rats, ravens and crows are the Dark One's spies." She then explains to Rand, "The fever is caused by a taint carried on Trolloc blades. They pick it up in their making in the forges of Thakandar on the slopes of Shaiol Ghul. I will need to use an Angreal to help me heal your father. I borrowed this one from the White Tower. There are only a few left. The knowledge of how to make them was lost in the break-in." She pulls out the Angreal to show Rand, an ivory statue of a woman wrapped in silk. As Moraine begins the healing, Lan shocks Rand by saying, "The Dark Rider was most likely a Myrddraal. They're known by many names: Fades, Shadowmen, Halfmen, Lurks. They're throwbacks from the creation of Trollocs. They're the brains of the Dark One's forces since the Forsaken were bound." Rand confesses he was terrified by it, but Lan reassures him, saying, "The look of the eyeless is to know fear. Even without eyes they can see like an eagle." Rand tells Lan, "A Trolloc told me the Fade wanted to talk to me. I killed it, more by accident than anything else." Lan is surprised, saying, "A Trolloc spoke to you? Well, don't dismiss your kill. It's a feat the few south of the Borderlands can claim." Having finished with the healing, Moraine adds her compliments to Rand, then asks Lan to help her stand. She's exhausted and puts away the Angreal. Thanking her, Rand rushes to check on Tam, finding his fever broken and his breathing normal and asleep. Moraine tells him, "A few weeks of rest and he'll be back on his feet. It's a shame the old healing abilities of Aes Sedai are lost to time, but now most of the energy of the healing comes from the patient. If they don't have the strength, they die. Luckily, your father is a strong man." Rand tells her that his offer of payment must not cause harm to his friends or village. She tells him, "We will speak of payment when you leave with us." Rand is confused and thinks she refers to the whole village, saying, "Leave? It can't be that bad. We will rebuild. And anyway, where would we go? The weather is bad everywhere. I bet this is Coplin or Conga talk." Lan calls him to silence so Moraine can explain. "It is you who must leave, Rand, for the sake of your village." Rand asks, "Why him? He doesn't want to go anywhere." Lan tells him, "Most of the homes were burnt to cause confusion, and they only attacked those who got in the way of their targets. Most of the outskirts and farms had no idea what happened until they arrived this morning. Only 2 farms were attacked, yours and the Abaras. Luckily, winter night meant that family were here in the village. The Myrddraal was ignorant of Two Rivers customs, and that saved lives. In the village itself, there were 2 real targets, the forge and the Corthan's house." When Rand calls it all crazy, Moraine tells him, "They were here for young men of a certain age. Everything else was done for their pleasure of killing and burning. Rand asks about Matt and Perrin and is told that they're safe. He then asks, "What about Ban Craw and Lem Fane? They saw the Fade too." Moraine says, "They were not targeted. Ban is too old and Lem is too young. You, Matt and Perrin are within a few weeks of age. You were the true targets." Incredulous, Rand asks, "What would the Dark One want with a bunch of village boys?" Moraine tells him, "That question cannot be answered here, but the answer will be important, or why else would Trollocs be this far south for the first time in 2,000 years? Lan adds, "I expect to fight Trollocs along the Great Blight, not 600 leagues to the south. That was as hot a raid as I've ever seen in the Borderlands." "In one of you three is something the Dark One fears," says Moraine. As Rand sullenly looks over at the grim sight of the bonfires and the stump of the spring pole, he remembers thinking how it would have been the best Beltane ever. He overhears Lan speaking to Moraine. How could they bring so many Trollocs this far south without raising the alarm from the Borderlands or Caemlyn? "They will be back," adds Moraine. Rand whirls around, asking, "Can't you stop them? Like you did last night, you're prepared now." She tells him, "Not without sending for more of my sisters from Tar Valon, but they might not arrive in time, and the murderer knows I'm here now." Rand is conflicted, envisioning all the villages and farms in flame, then says, "That's why I have to leave, isn't it? If I go, the Trollocs will stop attacking the two rivers. Matt and Perrin have to leave too, don't they?" At her nod, he continues, "We could go to Berlon or Caemlyn, I suppose. I used to daydream of going there." Lan corrects him. "I would not count on safety there, sheepherder. Murderers can walk through walls and wouldn't think twice of entering a town or city if they want you badly enough, which they do." Moraine explains, "There is safety to be found in Tar Valon, amongst Aes Sedai and warders. Even during the Trolloc Wars, they never breached its shining walls. It holds the greatest amount of knowledge gathered since the time of madness, and we may find out why the Father of Lies wants you." Rand was uncomfortable at the thought of being surrounded by Aes Sedai. One was bad enough. He's told that Tam is unlikely to wake before they leave in the middle of the night. Delay could be fatal. Moraine tells him she will speak with Matt and Perrin, and warns him not to tell anyone of their plans. Those who drew the dragon's fang on the inn may cause trouble if they find out. For now, he's to eat and get some sleep. After they leave, Rand ponders over everything he's been told, wishing for a way to know what is true. There were too many coincidences to ignore, though. Mistress Alvia enters with a tray of food for him and warns Rand not to wake Tam. Mistress Moraine has instructed her on what Tam needs to heal. Bran enters, and Rand takes a chance on asking him about the attack. Everything the mayor tells him verifies what Lan and Moraine had told him. Bran describes the event, saying, "The dogs started barking, then that pair come running out of the inn shouting about Trollocs. Then someone calls out that Master Luhan's house and the forge are on fire. Abel Cawthorne's house went up in flames next, odd with it being in the middle of the village. Then the Trollocs were amongst us, and they seemed just as surprised to find an Aes Sedai warder as the rest of us. I only know of 2 farms attacked, yours and the Ibarras." Rand wondered if the pair told the truth about the attack, then the rest was probably true as well. He wanted to ask the mayor for advice but kept quiet. What he really longed for was to speak to Tam. He'd been out in the world and would probably know more about Aes Sedai than Bran. Marin insisted he needed sleep and allows him to stay in Tam's room. Then the couple leave to let him eat. He desperately tried to stay awake, so if his father woke he could say goodbye before leaving. Eventually, exhaustion won. Thank you for listening to Teleran Riyadh's Audible. If you like what you hear, please leave a like and maybe a subscribe as well to help a new channel get off the ground. Thank you.